Thank you for joining. Hope you're able to see my screen. You have a question and answer window where you can type your questions. And Chanakya, if there are any typical questions particular for a slide, please do let me know that I can answer them immediately there and then. We'll wait for just 1 or 2 minutes more. Let's see if we can have a few more attendees and then we will start. In case of any issues, please do type in your questions or objections in the question and answer window. I have also typed my contact details also in the Q&A window so that you can take them for your future reference. Okay. So we'll start now. A quick introduction about myself. I'm Namita Goel, handling the channel business of Redington and handling the business of Red Hat. Okay. I am managing the territory of UAE, and overall, Redington manages the business of Red Hat across 35 countries or more than that, in fact, sitting from UAE, and we have special teams catering to different regions. For example, we have a team in Saudi who takes care of the Saudi business. We have a team in Egypt taking care of the business at Egypt. From here, we manage UAE, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Lebanon, Egypt, and Lebanon, Jordan, these countries as well as Iraq. We have teams in Africa also who manage the Africa-based customers. So today I'm going to take you through the Red Hat corporate presentation. The agenda for today's webinar is to let you know the capabilities of Red Hat and how you can win your customers using the Red Hat Red Hat product portfolio. Ideally, I'd like to make a session really very interactive, so I'll be glad to answer your questions even in the middle of the presentation. If you have any questions, please keep typing your questions in the Q&A window and I'll be happy to answer. Okay. So we start with an overview of Red Hat, the open source, Red Hat portfolio, customer and partners, working with Red Hat, how is it going to be? It's a complete journey, of right from infrastructure solutions to the application modernization. Whenever I used to discuss about Red Hat with people, the first impression which came to the mind after hearing the name Red Hat was Linux. Now today we'll see how Red Hat progressed way upwards, and they're not doing only Linux but a lot many things, right from the infrastructure to the application development for the customers. And this is how they are supporting the businesses in myriad ways. So Red Hat, they are the ones pioneer in the world, the first open source company in the world, which reached up to the revenue of $3 billion and provided the enterprise open source solutions. I would say it's a matter of pride for Red Hat to stand where they are while being an open source company. They were the first ones to take the lead and become so huge, so widely accepted in the world. Today, Red Hat stands as a company which has 13,815 employees operating out of 105 offices based in 40 plus countries, the first $3 billion open source company, and with the very, very reputed customers in their bucket. 90% of the Fortune 500 companies use Red Hat products and solutions. Now, how is that happening? In case I remember the times when there were companies who used to say open source is a cancer, but now the same company says that, yes, we love open source. Okay. So this is where the trust in the industry has come forward, right? Why should a customer pay for the licenses, right? When they have the option to pay only for the support and use the software for the free. How does it work? We'll see it later. Most of you would have heard about IBM's acquisition of Red Hat, right? But Red Hat is still Red Hat. Red Hat works as an independent business unit, and this particular marriage, I would say, has resulted in really uh, great deal of success for both IBM and Red Hat. IBM is an ideal teammate to scale and accelerate Red Hat's future. IBM, being one of the pioneers in its own in the industry in the mainframe technology, it's one of the most storied technology companies, as it is said. Like with they have an unparalleled track record of innovation across the industries. The reach of IBM is far more than Red Hat had in past so far. So, as a Red Hat partner, for more than 20 years. IBM acquired Red Hat. This helped IBM to create their own hybrid cloud story, which was somewhere, not really going well initially. And Red Hat has the kind of technology which complements the IBM's portfolio. And this is where this marriage is very successful. And Red Hat is able to go to multiple places because of the presence of IBM now. So the reach of Red Hat has doubled because of this IBM takeover. Okay, so this collaboration is resulting in a new set of stories, the new kind of use cases, which we'll see later here in the presentation. Yeah. So, what is the opportunity which lies ahead? So, in the coming months, you will see that uh, there are multiple ways in which you, as a partner, can work on both the technologies which IBM and Red Hat bring together, right? So IBM plans to bring the Red Hat solutions everywhere, wherever their presence is already, uh, you know, scripted. So basically, Red Hat operates in more than 40 countries, but IBM operates in more than 175 countries. So basically, this will give a very big reach to Red Hat and go everywhere wherever IBM is. Optimizing IBM's technology for the Red Hat portfolio. Already, IBM machines are, designed and certified to run Red Hat Linux, for example, and Red Hat OpenShift, right? So Red Hat OpenShift will help IBM to create this hybrid cloud story, and this will enable customers to use the Red Hat OpenShift while using still the IBM infrastructure, right? So we need to understand one thing, that IBM being a hardware company, a hardware oriented company, and Red Hat being a completely software company, it's a perfect match. Yeah. IBM has a lot of STEM initiatives, and similarly, Red Hat has a lot of STEM initiatives where they promote open source and open innovation at the university level and as a corporate social responsibility through Red Hat Academy as well as the IBM University. So this is where both of them are actually making the adoption of their technologies in a much better manner. Why you should work with Red Hat as a partner? Okay, look at the growth story of Red Hat. Okay, right from 2003 to 2019, the revenue graph of Red Hat has been totally upwards, and the growth has been a double-digit growth. Such an awesome company and such an awesome portfolio of products is what is keeping it sustained even in these difficult times. And that is where you should place your bet on. The go world is going to go the open source way. The world is going to go the Red Hat way, I would say. Let's see the opportunity. So out of the global revenue of Red Hat, how the Middle East is performing, for example. The EMEA region is significantly contributing 23.4% of the total Red Hat's revenue, which means there's a lot of opportunity over here. We are almost one-fourth of the total revenue of a company in this region we are contributing. This means there's a lot to do still and to have a bigger pie. This is where the opportunity lies for you as well. When we look at the total addressable market, where the real opportunity for different portfolios lie, okay? If you look at this whole chart, you will realize that operating system being the heart of any data center infrastructure, definitely it is a huge addressable market and will remain so, right? Linux is currently the fastest growing OS. If you look at the installations on AWS and Azure, they say that the maximum number of workloads that are running on Azure and AWS are actually the Linux workloads. Okay, so the operating system will remain a huge addressable market uh, forever, but the newer opportunities lie in the middleware and the cloud infrastructure management and PaaS. Okay, the middleware market today stands at $18 billion, addressable market when I say that. Okay, so why do you think middleware will be the thing? Due to a lot of cloud native application development, middleware plays a very significant role in the application development story. And without a good middleware, your applications will not result the way you want them to be. They will not be really scalable. So we will see what we have to offer in the middleware portfolio in Red Hat and cloud and infrastructure management. I don't even need to stress more today with cloud and infrastructure management how important it has become in the current scenario, and why companies who were even organizations who were like really hesitant and resistant to the cloud adoption are showing a rush to adopt the cloud and infrastructure management technologies, right? So platform as a service, again, it is becoming very important. If you want to create a very good customer experience, then you need to be more agile. You need to have your platform, which is working as a service, and it's not really rigid and not very inflexible, right? Growth of Red Hat, and it will remain so because data center still remains the focus of every company to retain their costs, to optimize their costs, as well as to make sure that there is a good customer experience within the internal stakeholders. So, infrastructure related subscriptions are still forming 63.4%, as you can see. But app dev and emerging technologies is like almost one fourth of the complete revenue of Red Hat currently, right? And which is supposed to go. Now, if you look at the growth, it is 30.9% year on year growth, which means the companies are focusing a lot on the customer experience by having modernized applications. Who are our customers? If you look at Red Hat's customers, I already explained before that 90% of the Fortune 500 companies are using Red Hat, out of which the major use cases you can see in the field of airlines, telcos, and banks. Okay. When I say banks, I would also like to cover the financial um, institutions like stock markets, other financial institutions, banks, along with, so I will consider this as a BFSI sector. Yeah. In case of telcos, you have heard about the network function virtualization. So Red Hat plays a big part in creating the private cloud story for the telcos. Okay. And in case of airlines, as we know that airlines need really secure, fast, and very reliable and scalable infrastructure. This is where Red Hat plays a very important part. By its own nature, Red Hat Linux is considered by far one of the most secure operating system, as you know. So this becomes a base for creating the best innovative product offerings going forward. Yeah. So what is open source first of all, and why is it more than just developing the software, right? And why open source is making Red Hat so successful. Okay, let's see what lies in the heart of open source. Okay, and we need to understand the psychology of open source. Okay, open source community out there is a group of highly innovative people who contribute to the community projects. As you can see here in the blue, more than 1 million projects are currently ongoing in the open source community, right? Which means the source code is open for you. You can consume a particular product, okay, and you don't have to pay for the licensing. Now, as a developer, okay, you would want to try an idea. You would want to develop a particular product or a particular feature or a particular project that you which is close to your heart and which is fit for use and fit for purpose. But if you have to invest significantly into procuring the license of the underlying components which will help you in creating your project, then it's going to be a very costly affair to do any kind of innovation that any organization or an individual would want to do. And this is where best of the minds from the biggest of the companies like IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, Red Hat, all of these people who are just the geeks who want to just work on new technologies, bring up innovation in the world, right? They work in these open source communities. They contribute heavily in these open source communities to create new products, new features, and add on to the existing projects. And out of these blue ones, whatever is successful and whatever has proven its worth is becomes an upstream project for Red Hat, and then they take these projects, and now here you see these red circles and the blue circles on your right and on your left. These upstream projects are taken by Red Hat to stabilize them. Red Hat participates in these projects, integrates them into the different available product offerings. It stabilizes them by doing a lot of testing, benchmark testing, performance testing, and providing a proper certification system across different hardware and software platforms. This is the way Red Hat completely adopts open source technologies to make sure that you know these kind of exciting innovative projects of open source are actually converted into full-fledged enterprise products fit for use and fit for purpose. Okay, so this is where you see the contribution of Red Hat. Red Hat is one of the biggest open source contributors in the open source community. And whatever projects they take up, they make them open source even if they are not open source, for example. Once a particular project has been stabilized by Red Hat, as a contributor, Red Hat gives those back to the open source community, okay, so that the further innovation can be done. And this is the whole essence and the heart of open source. Rapid iteration, brilliant innovation, community development, and collaboration to solve the common challenges. Okay. Why any kind of problem can be solved faster? It's only when there is a teamwork, there is a lot of collaboration between people, right? Different minds can work to solve a common challenge. Then we have these user interfaces, which are also a result of the open source development. Then QA integration, again, it's totally done by the open source community. One of the common objections which have been raised by the companies who still promote licensing mechanism is that how will you maintain a version if you're using an open source software, which is right. And that is why companies like Red Hat provide a predictable and stable lifecycle support. Any project which is an open source cannot be maintained in a version, right? Or a particular version may not be available today and tomorrow, right? But Red Hat, if it takes a particular product and makes it a commercial offering, they provide a predictable and stable lifecycle support for that. Let's see the examples of the community projects to enterprise offerings, right? Starting with Linux, it was a Fedora operating system which was given to the community by Linux Torvald, and it became Linux. Right? Some of you wouldn't have been exposed to the Red Hat virtualization. Most of us know only about VMware virtualization and Microsoft's hypervisor. Red Hat has its own virtualization, which is also a product of a community project. Overt and Red Hat's virtualization, as I know at present, there are many companies, many organizations who are running their infrastructure on Red Hat virtualization to retain their costs. And this is working really well for them. Right. So Red Hat OpenStack platform, Red Hat storage, Cephen cluster, Red Hat satellite. These are all the infrastructure projects which came out of the open source community. Coming to the middleware, we have JBoss, ViewSource, OpenShift, Manage IQ, which is CloudForms, and Ansible automation. All of these are the achievements of the open source community, powered by the enterprise grade testing and enterprise grade integration by Red Hat. Right. So come to see the Red Hat's portfolio. As I've already highlighted before, that we are not just offering the operating system; we have a lot more to offer to you. Right. So Red Hat's open source solutions work right from the bare metal and on the public cloud and everything in between. Right. Let's see. Right. First of all, what are the kind of customer challenges? We divide our portfolio into different customer challenges that the customers face, right? The very first one will be IT optimization, right? So transform your existing IT infrastructure, which is really, really important. You will still find your customers. In fact, I was speaking to one of the customers yesterday. They are running their SAP on AX servers. So the that's where my opportunity is. If there is any customer who's still running AX servers, still running on Unix, please tell them, please transform your existing IT infrastructure. Come on to the Linux. If you still keep using those rigid systems, your ability to virtualize and your ability to transform to the cloud, whether public or private cloud, will be very, very limited. So this is your first opportunity. Transform your customers' existing IT infrastructure. And how do we do that? What are the kind of lack of IT optimization sounds like? How do you understand whether the customer is still running legacy systems? Like, for example, a system administrator, if he or she says, like, we are constantly falling behind on security advisories, we need better patch controls. That means they are really running obsolete systems, right? IT director, a kind of challenge which is faced by an IT director. We can't keep up with the request of IT resources from app developers and business units. Like, I have been an application developer myself, and it is nightmare sometimes to ask your IT team to provision a particular server or an IT resource or maybe a storage, on the fly, right? Why? Because the systems are not scalable and are not able to cope up with the dynamic needs of the internal stakeholders like the application developers or the business units. And it goes through a forever, never ending change management and procurement process. This is where I would say the processes are not optimized, and the processes can be optimized only when your infrastructure is capable to cater to those needs at the runtime. Right? So another common problem that you will see on your left hand side is we released the app on time, but the QE environment was different from the production. Oh my God, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. As I personally have related to this a lot when I used to be a database developer. Oh my God, my query is working in a particular dev environment. It's working fine, and even in the test environment, it's not working fine in a pre-live environment, or it is failing in the live environment. And what we understand is that it is some hardware which is interfering, the kind of software that we have installed, it's interfering with the way my application should respond. Okay. Why do you want to get into this kind of situation? You would like to have such kind of applications which are oblivious of the underlying hardware, so that your application development is not highly dependent on the kind of hardware that you're using. How this can be done, we'll see once we discuss the complete portfolio, middleware portfolio. Right. So that's where these are some of the challenges and opportunities where you can pitch in and solve these problems of the customer. Right. Any organization can progress only if they are using a very good platform. They have very good processes around the people, process around their organization, standardized environments, and there are people who are trained to use those platforms and processes, and they have the mind share to have a standardized infrastructure and cloud ready platform, right? So platform, process, and people is our focus for the customers. Let's look at the portfolio right from the bare metal layer, right? Red Hat has to offer infrastructure software right from starting from the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Red Hat Enterprise Linux has the latest release 8.1, which has already the container capabilities. The new Red Hat Linux 8.1 is an amazing progression of Linux from what it was to what it is today. Yeah, it already is going to give you the capabilities of predictive infrastructure management because it comes with Red Hat Insights, and it has the capabilities to containerize in future, right? Red Hat Virtualization, Red Hat Software Defined Storage, which is Ceph and Gluster. So Gluster is your file storage, Ceph is your object oriented storage. Then all of this is powered by the Red Hat certificate system and directory server. So Red Hat has its own directory server. If you would like to integrate your emails using the directory server, you can use the Red Hat directory server. Now, one of the most important point here why Red Hat infrastructure software is very, very successful. Red Hat has a very strong system to certify their new releases with across the hardware vendors, which makes them very, very, adoptable across all their existing platforms, whether it is any kind of a server, any kind of a storage. So this is where Red Hat brings a lot of value, and you can be rest assured as a partner that you are giving the best product to your customer. So coming to the next slide, right. The products that support the standardized infrastructure are Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Red Hat Insights, and Red Hat Smart Management. Right. First of all, it is very, very important that the customer has a standardized environment, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux is the world's leading enterprise Linux platform. There are different distributors of Linux like SUSE, Ubuntu, right? But Red Hat Enterprise Linux stands out totally, and it's as per the studies in the 2018, right? The current version of Red Hat 8.1 comes with Red Hat Insights, as I already explained. It is a predictive analytics tool, and it helps to avoid any problems or unplanned downtime in your Red Hat environment by alerting you in advance. Red Hat Smart Management contains Red Hat Satellite. Basically, earlier we used to sell it as Red Hat Satellite, but now it is called Smart Management. Smart Management has Red Hat Satellite as well as the Red Hat Insights. Okay, so no matter wherever you are, from your physical machines to your virtual Red Hat machines, or even in hybrid multi-clouds, Smart Management helps you to do the patching, upgrade, and monitoring of your Red Hat environment, basically, right? Something like you can compare it with Microsoft's SCCM, right? The way you have a tool to manage your Microsoft's infrastructure. Similarly, you have Red Hat Smart Management to manage your Red Hat infrastructure, right? So the beauty of Red Hat Enterprise Linux is it works at the bare metal level, it works at the virtualization level, it works in the cloud, and it works at the container level. And this is why this is one such single operating system that you need to look forward to for all the various needs. It is a common foundation across the platforms and the management. And that is the true meaning of standardization, right? This is the published life cycle of Red Hat Linux 8. Currently, as I said, we are into the 8.1, and in the second half of 2020, there will be 8.2, and so on and so forth. Something which is very important to note here is that any version of Red Hat is supported for 10 years. Now, once a particular version is supported for 10 years, it brings in a lot of stability to whatever projects that a customer is doing, whatever kind of products the companies are developing on top of Red Hat Linux, Red Hat offerings, which is a very, very good thing because it brings down any kind of operational costs later on. So what's next? Once you have standardized your customer's environment, right, that's where you make them cloud ready. And once the customer is on the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, the next step for your customer is to migrate to a cloud ready platform. How can they do that? They can do that using adoption of Red Hat Virtualization, Red Hat's OpenStack platform, and Red Hat's infrastructure migration solutions, right? And also the Red Hat storage, right? Once the customer has a standardized platform, that is the first step to for being a cloud ready platform. Okay, that's one of the most important things to understand here. How do you take your customer to a cloud ready platform? Is by putting them onto the Red Hat virtualization. It is again an open source software defined platform. It has Red Hat has its own hypervisor. Then you can put unlimited guest OS on the Red Hat's virtualization platform. Then it is a very, very stable foundation for your cloud native and containerized future. Red Hat's OpenStack platform finds its typical use cases in creating the private clouds for the companies who do not want to go on a public cloud infrastructure. Right? If a company wants to create their private cloud, OpenStack platform. Again, I want to insist here that OpenStack platform is good for the companies who are using more than 1,000 virtual machines, right? So that's why OpenStack platform typically finds its use cases in the telcos or in big retail houses or typical airlines, because that is where they need to create a lot of virtual machines. Sometimes some of them have to be created on the go to cater to the increased usage, or to cater to their ever expanding needs. Red Hat CloudForms is an infrastructure management platform which allows IT to control the user's self-service abilities, right? Once you have a cloud, it's once you have a public or a private cloud, okay, it's very, very important that you have the self-service abilities to provision, manage, and ensure the compliance across the virtual machines and your private clouds. So CloudForms is a very, very apt tool for helping you to do that. You can create even a chargeback mechanism internally so that you understand what is the consumption. You can monitor the consumption, and you can help the users to do the provisioning by themselves by creating the self-service abilities. Right. All of this have to be supported by the training and certification. Now, your customer will adopt to the Red Hat platform only if you assure them that they can be trained by using the Red Hat's own training and certification system. Right. Red Hat has tie-up with different institutions in different geographies. In Middle East, they have a tie-up with Global Knowledge to provide the Red Hat training and certification. Red Hat has also on-site training and certification facilities, starting from a minimum of 6 users. Now, in the current pandemic situation, as we know, all the trainings are now virtualized right now until the situation resolves. So, it is very, very important that if you are bringing a customer's platform on Red Hat technologies, you also promote them, you also convince them to go for the Red Hat's training and certification programs. Some of the customer success in across the world is Intermountain Healthcare, Cortex, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. But if I have to give you the local references, it's MSNBD, National Bank of Fujairah. When it comes to banking, when it comes to uh, universities, we have American University of Sharjah, which is on Red Hat Linux. So we have a lot of customer references in this region, and we can provide them on demand. There is a complete YouTube video on how Emirates NVD transform their monolithic applications to the microservice-based applications using the Red Hat technologies. Those who are from India, they will probably relate to this. The Bombay Stock Exchange and NSE, they have been able to completely transform their trading platforms using the Red Hat technologies. Few more customer success stories are ExxonMobil, British Petroleum, coal. So how a customer is able to automate their CI/CD platform This is an example. This is a proper customer testimonial, as you can see that they have now full service to deliver change from the initial idea through the innovation right through the production as quickly as humanly possible. A very, very good testimonial to read here. Right. The next customer challenge that we are going to look at is the cloud native development, building innovative applications faster. Right. So, as the title of this webinar is everything from the infrastructure to the applications. Let's see. So, why do organizations need cloud computing? I really don't think I will be investing time today to speak about it because it has been proven already that to improve your global reach using the hybrid and multi-cloud strategy and being more elastic and agile and more scalable, you need to have basically your organization needs to be cloud ready. And if the organization follows the agile principles, they need to have a proper continuous integration and continuous development pipelines that will help them, that will help the DevOps story, right? I still remember as a developer, it used to take me almost a 3 month cycle or a 3 months development cycle to production to even migrate a very small change as good as adding a text box into my screen. Now this has completely changed with the microservices architecture. This has completely changed with the agile development methodology. So let's look at the next stage is the next level of product offerings that we have. What makes your customer a cloud ready customer? The container platform, Red Hat's OpenShift container platform, Red Hat's middleware and application services, different developer tools. Any customer who is into their own development, then they can use the complete development kit of Red Hat Container Development Kit, Red Hat OpenShift application runtimes, Red Hat Developer Toolset. So basically, why containerization is needed? Okay, first of all, it is very, very important to understand that why you need to pitch the container story to your customer. Any idea that has to be tested fast, it requires the capability to move an idea quickly from development to production, right? To be able to do that, no customer would want to really increase their cost by adding hardware really and then procuring different kind of licenses to be able to do that, which is a very, very long cycle, and the cost of failure is also very high, right? So if an idea fails in the production or in the test, the cost of testing that idea is very high. However, if the customer is on an OpenShift container platform, what a customer needs to do is maximum just spin up a container. Container is nothing but it's like a complete compute network store unit. It isolates your application from the underlying hardware, and it also divides your application into the microservices architecture basically. So it is very, very important that the application also has a microservices architecture to be able to package them into containers and deploy them from whether in the dev environment, test environment, or a production environment. So the deployment becomes easier from dev, test to production. Basically. So once an idea has been originated, it is easier to test it, and the cost of failure is very, very less because you're not significantly investing into procurement of different licenses. You can test your application, you can test a particular microservice on the container platform, right? Then we come to the middleware and application services. Red Hat has runtimes. You would have heard about JBoss, Java Development Kit, Red Hat Process Automation, and myriad of products we will see in the next slide, right? As I was talking about the containers are the lean sandbox processes on a shared Linux kernel. So apps packaging comes with all the dependencies in a container. It eliminates the configuration errors and the problems. As I've been telling you that it becomes very difficult for developers to go from dev test to production, right? It is portable across the different environments. It is also portable across if you have a hybrid cloud kind of a setup, it becomes easier even in that scenario, right? So containers are deployable, runnable on any environment within seconds, and your deployment times can reduce from the number of weeks to number of days. So let's look at the offerings of Red Hat OpenShift. Red Hat OpenShift runs on the trusted enterprise Kubernetes, gives you a cloud-like experience everywhere, and it empowers the developers to innovate faster. And Red Hat OpenShift also provides you container security, installation upgrades, maintenance, and the faster application delivery. Right. What are the different middleware offerings that we have? Is Red Hat Runtimes, the Red Hat OpenShift, Red Hat Data Grid, the Red Hat Amq Broker, Red Hat Fuse, Red Hat Scale API management, the process automation management manager, and decision manager. So OpenShift application runtimes gives you the flexibility to run Node.js, Spring Boot, and different kinds of runtimes, giving you flexibility to use the different kind of programming languages. Right. Data Grid will help you to integrate your different data silos so that it can be you can integrate your different data silos to create a common data platform. Amq Broker and Red Hat Amq is something to be paid attention to. Amq is the messaging queue which helps you to manage your application messaging in a way so that you can create a streamlined interaction between different APIs, basically. Red Hat Fuse is nothing but your enterprise service bus. It helps to integrate different applications. Scale API management is one of the most interesting product offerings of Red Hat. As an organization, you would have different applications having different APIs. You would want to probably monetize your API. You want to create security policies around your API, set up the priorities, how a particular API will be exposed and will be will interact with the different external APIs. This is where you can manage all your APIs using the Scale API management. Red Hat Process Automation Manager. Red Hat Process Automation Manager gives you a flexibility to design your own processes, the complete BPM suite, and Decision Manager gives you the flexibility to create your own workflows based on your business process flow. So this is Red Hat Process Automation Manager and Decision Manager works like your complete BPM suite where you can create a complete business process from the scratch, right? So I will give you examples. The Finacle, Infosys Finacle, right? And TCS Bank Assurance. These are some of the banking platforms which are built on the Process Automation Manager and Decision Manager. So you can imagine that companies are creating full-fledged products of their own using the open source technologies of Red Hat, Process Automation Manager, and Decision Manager. Something that you can also do and you can create, right? You can become an ISV by creating your own products. Okay. So all of this again is supported by the infrastructure monitoring tools and application monitoring tools and complete Red Hat ecosystem. Right. Cloud native development, as we have discussed a bit about it, OpenShift has the latest tools and services to make your devs more productive. You can create your code, which you can be serverless. You can create your pipelines of CI/CD, and you can create a complete service mesh to support your cloud native development. Some of the customer success stories are Lockheed Martin, Volkswagen, Optus, right? So last and not the least, we come to the automation. So we have already discussed about agile integration, cloud native development, and now we come to the automation. Automation, Red Hat has one of the best tools, which is also in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant, that is Red Hat Ansible automation. Okay, so what are the kind of issues which you would consider for Ansible automation, right? What are the different industries which face the kind of issues which are actually solved by the Ansible? In case of manufacturing industry, you will see that the manufacturing industry always suffers from low margins because of their focus on the efficiency and have very high operational costs, right? So in this case, how you can leverage the technology, open source technology, to bring down their costs, operation costs. So Red Hat has, in case of OpenShift infrastructure, Red Hat also has OpenShift IO, where you can develop the IoT solutions, base them on the OpenShift infrastructure, and provide the specific solutions to this industry. In case of a financial services, everyone wants to differentiate themselves, wants to be better. Every bank, for example, wants to create a different kind of a customer experience to stay competitive and to be at the edge. So this is where Red Hat Technologies can help them to stay ahead of the competition by using automation, by using cloud native development. And when it comes to government, they require really, really strong data protection, right? And the price, they are very price sensitive with the kind of budget constraints, and especially in the current scenario. So the kind of questions that you will ask to these kind of customers is, how does your organization deal with the ever-changing security and compliance mandate? Governments keep bringing different kind of compliance mandates, and how do you deal with that? You can deal with that only if you have a scalable and agile infrastructure, if you have a scalable and agile application development strategy also. Both the things matter, not just infrastructure, not just application, both should go hand in hand, right? So let's look at Ansible. Like, Ansible is a very, very simple automation language. Okay, it can perfectly describe an IT application infrastructure in Ansible playbooks. Ansible automation engine runs Ansible playbook. So Ansible is basically a bundle of Ansible tower and an Ansible engine. In the Ansible tower, you can see here, as you can see on the screen, you can see the dashboard. You can see what's going on in your infrastructure, or what's going on in your application development, or what's going on when you're deploying your application. You can use Ansible for your automation of your testing. So Tower gives you a proper visualization. Ansible engine runs the playbooks. What is a playbook? Playbook basically is a set of YAML statements. It's a very user-friendly language, which helps you to write very, very user-friendly commands which can do the desired task. For example, if you want to orchestrate a virtual machine, or if you want to manage an alert. For example, your network monitoring system gives you an alert, but you want to create an action out of it. Then you can use the capabilities of Ansible to create an action out of an alert to manage the alert, right? You can configure your servers, networks, and devices, provision any new system release. Deploy and manage applications. There's a very, very good use case by all the application development companies who use Ansible to roll out their applications. And it is typically being used by a lot by the mobile application development companies. So most of you, when you wake up in the morning, you see that your application is already updated. Okay. How does it happen? How this kind of an automated rollout happens, right? Ansible is one of the key tools which helps in this kind of application deployment automation, and managing the patching also, and doing the discovery to run the compliance checks, what is happening, if there is any kind of patch which is missing, and that kind of alerts you can set up in Ansible, right? And this helps to create and sustain your DevOps story, basically. It can easily integrate with any of your existing enterprise technology, whether you want to run it on the cloud, whether you want to run it on your bare metal infrastructure. It is an agentless technology, so it doesn't create any kind of false alerts because it is agentless. So basically, it's based on the technology available in the AWS open source community. Again, Ansible was a project in the open source community, which Red Hat purchased and made it open source, basically, right? So there is an open REST API which enables the integration with the source control systems to maintain the Ansible modules. So if tomorrow you want to create a database, for example, or if you want to patch an F5 firewall, or a typical example will be many organizations, due to different reasons, have different firewalls due to different sites. In that scenario, they can patch all of them together using the Ansible playbooks. You can automate your patching and upgrade using the Ansible playbooks, right? So log monitoring and integration with the third-party log analytics tools is possible using Ansible. You can also track your CMDB, and you can manage a role-based access control, so that you can create different roles in the organization who can do what. Yeah, that's the whole idea of Ansible. As a partner, you get access to the NFRs on the partner portal to request the Ansible Towers license, and you can try and test it on your own infrastructure to be able to pitch to the customers. You can create your own projects and give it to the customer. Why? With automation. So a very simple infographic is here. Without automation, if you have a disparate infrastructure, for example, you have Red Hat infrastructure, you have Microsoft infrastructure also in your data center, and also you have networking. How you do the management? You have to go into the command center of each one of them and then manage. But if you have an Ansible layer, you can do all of it together, and you can manage to automate your tasks by just having a layer of Ansible, because it's that simple, that efficient and powerful, as well as it is secure and compliant. So the objective here is that you get a lot of efficiency, you get scalability, you get security and more control of your own infrastructure, basically. Right. Some of the customer success stories: British Army, Deutsche Bank, Swisscom. Again, Ansible finds its use in a lot of use in the telcos, especially airlines and banks, heavily. Okay. So we have discussed all of the complete Red Hat portfolio today, right from the infrastructure to the middleware to the application development. Here is the here is the complete portfolio for you to have a look. Entire Red Hat portfolio is supported by the efficient consulting and professional services delivered by Red Hat directly. As a partner, you can pitch Red Hat services, professional services directly to the customer, so that the customer is also assured of what they're getting, right? So coming to the opportunity that lies with the customers and the partners, right? We cannot we could not have achieved what we have achieved today without the help of our esteemed partners. We will explain the partner tier going forward. Some of the things that I would like to show as the CIO alternatives here. So if you are talking to a customer, that what are your alternatives? If the customer is looking for any alternative, something which is very interesting here is, this is what you can pitch to your customers, is by using this kind of a comparison. Application server, if the customer is already using, for example, Pivotal or VMware vFabric, Oracle WebLogic Server, the answer to all of these in Red Hat is Red Hat JBoss Enterprise Application Platform, JBoss Web Server. If the customer is using in-memory data grid, so we have Red Hat JBoss Data Grid. Enterprise Service Bus, we have, if the customer is using Oracle SOA Suite and ESB or MuleSoft, for example, we have Red Hat JBoss Fuse, right? So data virtualization and data services, then we have Red Hat's JBoss Data Virtualization. Data virtualization is one of the most in things today, because the customers are facing problems because of the multiple silos which work in isolation. So data virtualization is becoming very popular and at the need of the hour. Business rules and process automation. If the customer is using Pega systems or Oracle BPM suite, your answer from Red Hat would be Red Hat JBoss VRMS and Red Hat JBoss BPM suite. Okay. So when it comes to messaging and managing the messaging coming from your different applications, then VMware has vFabric, so Red Hat has JBoss AMQ. If your customer is using, for example, RabbitMQ again, or Oracle EQ or TIBCO EMS, we have Red Hat JBoss AMQ. In case of system management, I have already explained you, we have Red Hat Satellite. So Red Hat Satellite for managing the Red Hat's infrastructure, but you can use for automation Ansible, right? So again, for operating system, in case of Solaris or AIX or SUSE Linux, you can always switch Red Hat Enterprise Linux. That should be your starting point, ideally, with any customer, right? Unless your customer has started using Red Hat Enterprise Linux, unless they have had the Red Hat flavor, it's unlikely that they will consider something else, right? When it comes to platform as a service, OpenShift by Red Hat. OpenShift by Red Hat, as of now, has a very, very good partnership with AWS and Azure, so you can run your OpenShift on Azure AWS to create a containerized infrastructure offering. Next is your cloud orchestration, so you have cloud forms. For infrastructure as a service, Red Hat has a complete cloud suite, Red Hat Cloud Infrastructure, OpenStack platform. For virtualization, I've already explained. In case of storage, you have NetApp, EMC, VMware Virtual SAN. So if you want to create this kind of storage infrastructure, which is virtualized as well, you can use Red Hat Ceph Storage. The customer references are also given on the right side, so for you to understand their applications. Right. So we have strategic alliances with the AWS, Cisco. As a partner, what can you do? Where is your opportunity? So we have a multi-tier program model for the partners. We have Premier Business Partners, Advanced Business Partner, and Red Hat Ready Partner. Red Hat Ready Partner is the beginning tier. That's how once you registered as a Red Hat partner, your status becomes Red Hat Ready Partner. And you can start with the platform. Platform is nothing but the Red Hat Enterprise Linux skill. So we have different specializations in Red Hat. We categorize them into three. Either you start with platforms, which is the infrastructure bare metal level technologies like Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Ceph and Gluster, and automation, right? Next is the next skill that we call is cloud infrastructure. So that is another specialization. So if you want to create your mark only in the cloud related technologies, then you can go for the cloud specialization of Red Hat. The third specialization is the middleware. So if you want to be a middleware centric partner where you would want to work only on the APIs, want to work on the BPM, want to work on the cloud native development, then you can build your skills on OpenShift, on the containers, on the JBoss side of the things of Red Hat. So Premier, Advanced, and Ready partnership gives you different levels of discount. For a Premier partner to sustain their partnership, the requirement is to maintain 2 Red Hat certified engineers bare minimum. There is a business plan and there is a revenue commitment. Plus, along with that, you need to have the customer references as well as sales and technical people certified in your organization. For an advanced business partner, this is where you start getting the benefit of deal registration. Unless you are an advanced business partner, there is no deal registration applicable. So an advanced business partner has to acquire a minimum of 1 skill out of platform, cloud, or middleware, and then you need to have minimum two of your engineers, sales people and engineers certified on the different Red Hat accreditations. You need to have minimum one customer reference. You need to have a certain revenue commitment, and as well as you need to have a minimum 1 engineer who is Red Hat certified engineer. Right. This is a paid certification. We can give you the details once you express your interest regarding the same. Right. So what are the program benefits as a Red Hat partner? You will get access to the partner portal, which has free content on the different technical aspects of the Red Hat offerings. You can get yourself trained and enabled and develop the skill set of your workforce by using the partner portal really effectively. There is a very strong training program of Red Hat available on the partner portal. Okay. Using Red Hat Connect for business partners, you can you can ask for the NFRs, not for resale subscriptions, and test your ideas and make a POC for your customer, create a POC in your own environment, and you can, this way you can actually effectively pitch the Red Hat technologies to your customer. You gain a lot from the renewals. We have a very high renewal rate because Red Hat, as we spoke about, is a support subscription, which is not a license per se. It's a support subscription which the customer buys every year and renews every year. The cost remains the same unless the price changes. So once a customer becomes your Red Hat customer, you stand to gain from a recurring business as a partner. Okay, every year you can gain from the renewals that the customer will do. And most of the times, the Red Hat infrastructure is used in the critical system, so you can expect a high renewal rate. Yes. Plus, we have a very good co-selling support system where Red Hat's team directly helps all the partners to upsell to their customers by consulting their customers through the customer portfolio managers. So you get very good assistance from Red Hat in upselling and cross-selling to your customers when it comes to the deal renewals. Right. Deal registration, as I've said, is applicable only starting from the advanced partnership. Then access to promotional tools, including the customer stories. You have all the marketing content available on Red Hat's partner portal itself. Really, you don't need to reinvent the wheel from the scratch. There are use cases, there are studies already available. All you need to do is just pick up a use case, pick up a data sheet, or just extract one infographic from the partner portal and send the email to your prospects to promote the Red Hat offerings. Right. So bring, as Red Hat, we bring technology, assurance of enterprise-grade certainty, and our experience and expertise that you can trust on. We give a very good support whenever you bring a new customer to us. Red Hat gets directly involved and helps to close the deals. We have a proper partner channel ecosystem, which is done by Redington. As partner, as the channel business, we help in recruiting the new partners. Like what I'm doing today, the partner enablement. Like this, I focus on each and every partner I recruit, and I run individual enablement sessions and individual partner development sessions to help them understand the offerings, to answer their queries, to help them pitch the Red Hat offerings to the customer by directly involving with the customers, obviously based on the partner's request. So we focus on the partners' development heavily to ensure that the partners stand to gain and stand to bring the Red Hat business, right? So this is our strategy. The roles that we look forward to, we need a dedicated support from a partner to have one sales engineer and one delivery person dedicated to Red Hat, so that a salesperson can pitch the Red Hat products and a sales engineer can create the demos, and a delivery person can implement finally the solution to the end customer. All of these roles, the courses which are pertaining to all of these roles are available on the online partner enablement network, which is the Red Hat's partner portal. Each and every individual can pick up the courses suitable for themselves and train themselves. We have also a list of accreditations which we send to every partner to to equip themselves with the training, right? So again, just I'm going to summarize. You are listening today to the open source story of a leading open source company which provides enterprise open source solutions, a very high growth multi-billion dollar company offering a comprehensive portfolio of products and services, globally active in all the verticals. Sometimes I hear this objection from some of the partners that, okay, except banks, telcos, and airlines, what? So we have a huge customer reference from other industries also, which we can, which we can provide on a face-to-face basis. All you need to do is to connect with me, and I will help you to close your deals. Right, right. So again, I would like to thank all of you for being patient, for listening to me. And here we move on to the questions, and let's see what questions we have. All right. Seems no questions. Probably either I was too in depth that everything is clear, or maybe it wasn't interesting. But nevertheless, thank you again, all of you, for coming and joining this session. And I look forward to connecting with each one of you